to stand up, I didn't, that's why.
I thought you said it was free, that's okay.
No, I'm not gonna kneel.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Now, it's been a switch. We were originally scheduled to the fire department tonight, but they haven't presented to the Board of Selectmen yet. That won't come until Monday, so tonight we'll be hearing from the police department and DPW. So, Chief, would you like to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. DPW, want to go first?
Switch it up on you.
See this one day?
Nope.
Different?
All right, good, exciting. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know there was a few of you guys at the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday, and I did hand you guys a new packet. The only difference was the salt. We got a little bit of clarification on price there, so.
What's the line number, Jason?
It is $4.52.
Thank you.
Everything else is the same?
Everything else is the same.
Okay.
Would you guys like a minute to look at that, or would you want me to start?
Go right ahead.
I guess we'll go with what's increased from me. The on-call bonus line 412. That's gone from $300 a person to $25. Rest of that stuff is payroll, advertising, line 425. Found that advertising online on certain places like Indeed are a little bit more expensive. The cost of that's gone up. Software support, line 429A. That is hopefully going to be for some asset management software for the Public Works Department. I know Neil on Monday had asked about if I could quantify it with a number. I have not had a chance to do that in the last day, but when I do, I can try to send you guys an email or something along those lines to get to you. Um, 436, drug and alcohol testing. That price has gone up. 438, fuel additives. We do have some newer trucks which require Blue Def, and that price has gone up along with the usage as well. Line 440, oil and lubricants. Price of oil has gone up drastically. $441, signs and posts. We have replaced quite a few this year, either due to accidents or theft. And the price of those has also gone up. Gravel road maintenance, we went up just a little bit. Kinda make it a round number easier for us. Sand and salt, you can see that correction if any of you have a copy from Monday night.
So was that just the wrong price calculated?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Went in the right direction.
It did, thankfully. Uniforms, we have not, done the bid, or finalized the bid yet, but, I gave us a little bit of wiggle room, hopefully, but that's subject to change as well. And 458, knotweed control. This year we weren't able to get as much done as we were last year, reflecting a cost increase, so that's why you see an increase there. Overall increase of 48,867. Any questions on that before we go to the next one?
Percentage, did you calculate it?
Anyone? Yeah.
Depending on how you figure it, that's a 10 or 11% increase. Is that right?
Seems about right.
One of the, I understand that when it comes to wages, and I'm looking at line 415, that we don't have a full complement of employees. And so I'm wondering if it would be possible to reduce that line with, on the assumption that we are not going to be able to fill all of those vacant positions during next year. And that by keeping the money in this line at the full amount, the taxpayers are being asked to spend, or to send more money to the town than we know will actually, or we believe will actually be spent. So would it be reasonable to say that, I think you have what, 6 out of 11 or 6 out of 12?
6 out of 13.
6 out of 13, that instead of, as this does, funding the full 13, we fund some lower number.
Yeah, we are taking, part-time help pay out of that, as well as, contractor, snowplow contractor pay out of that as well. Per the Board of Selectmen. I would really hate to tie our hands if we did make, some improvements in wages and people were getting interested, and then we can't hire anybody because of that.
Further question, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, yes.
This year, you're probably going to not spend about $225,000 in this line. And this is the same line from which you're taking all of these expenses for part-time people and contractors and so forth. So would it not be reasonable to reduce this line in 2024 by $225,000?
Seems like it ties us to a 6-person crew next year.
It would, unless you hired someone else and then you didn't have to go to as many contractors, or you found, as I suspect may be the case, that the competition for these kinds of employees is so great that, and so many towns are doing what we're doing, offering bonuses and so forth, that there just aren't enough bodies to fill all of the slots, and we're not going to be able to fill them, despite the fact that we would like to have them.
That's not your decision.
Yeah.
You don't have to commit to that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not his choice.
Yep.
This is, and just, you have to preface, we're only here tonight to give you the opportunity to hear firsthand what he's got. we're gonna end up massaging the whole package eventually. But instead of putting everybody here 4 days before Christmas and stay here till midnight or till the next day, we opted to have him come in and just show you, explain to you some of the increases that he has put together, and then there will be changes along the way, we understand that. But debating for half an hour over 6 people short is not his choice, that's the board.
Thank you.
Any more?
Any other questions?
Street lighting has gone down because of usage. Transfer station, 468. Same thing with the highway department on-call bonus. Theirs has gone up a little. Rest of that stuff, all the way up to $478 is all payroll. Line 478, building maintenance, we went up a little bit. Based on the amount of work that we've been doing there and the amount of work that needs to be done. Training, we've gone up a little bit. More classes, more certification, get employees, some more knowledge up there is always good. 483 NRRA dues went up. 486, the cost to get rid of trash has gone up $5 from last year. It's gonna go up $5 for the next 6 or 7 years as well.
And do you know what the purpose is for the variance?
Could you repeat that?
What is the purpose for the variance of the $5?
It's a contract that the town's in a co-op. So they have a contract for, I believe it's a 7-year contract, and every year they go up $5.
I see. Thank you.
Glass crushing, typically every time we go out, it's about $10,000 to crush. So price increase there. Baler wire, $489. There's an increase in cost there. Shop supplies, we went up a little bit. Office supplies, we also went up $75. $498 monitoring wells for the landfill. The cost of that has gone up. Trailer tires, we went up a little bit as well. Obviously, the cost of tires has not gone down. And transfer station has about the same amount of increase as public work, or the highway, $48,194.
Is the $48,194 based on recycling revenue, or?
No, nope. That's just the operating budget. The recycling is all out of a revolving fund.
I see. Do you know what the revenue is?
When we have a sheet of revenues, that is included on that.
I see.
I think that was already presented at one time to the board earlier. So somewhere's in there, I might have it in my folder. But that would be one of the items listed under revenue.
The revenue would offset the taxes at the end, but it's not part of his operating budget.
I see.
It's-
Thank
right.
you.
Half of the recycling money goes back to the general fund. Half the recycling money we have a fund for equipment for the transfer station.
Got one, Tom? Jason, just going back real quick on highway, vehicle equipment maintenance repair, you got the same amount that you had last year. If your trucks are getting older, is that gonna be sufficient? 85,000? Especially if you don't get, you don't know, let's say you don't get a new truck. 85,000, what you had last year, gonna be able to keep up with what you got?
I think it's been a pretty steady number for the past 4 or 5 years, and we've done pretty well with it.
Okay.
Anytime anybody is referring to a line, you just give that first number, we can find it quickly.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
yeah, you found it before I could,
I-
yeah,
I-
okay, got it.
but thank you. Jason? Anybody else?
Yeah,
Questions?
Just a quick one.
Tom?
Line 504, the hazardous waste day.
Oh, yeah, my fault, sorry. Hazardous waste day, we went up, just so we can avoid some things that, happened this year. We ran out of money very soon. You can see we did overspend a little bit on that, but, it's definitely a service that the public wants, and when people get shut off, they get quite upset, so.
So you spent 11,590 this year, okay, and you're going up to 15,000,
Yep.
just to cover, okay. I got it. What, 2022, we didn't have one, is that why it's blank?
Correct.
Other questions?
Sewer, some of this stuff is kinda up in limbo, depending on certifications for myself as DPW director and what we're paying for somebody to do it right now, so that's ultimately gonna be Board of Selectmen decision, but, if it goes, this way that it's presented to you guys, that, DPW director gets the certification, looks like it's gonna be up $3,100.
Jason, since that, whatever the amount is divided up among the users,
Yep.
so it doesn't have any tax impact at all, correct?
Yeah, okay, easy.
Thank you.
No, it's okay. And water, we did go up on training, just to keep people knowledgeable, what, new materials and what's going on in that field, but took it down a little bit on one line, so there's no increase to that.
Anybody questions on the water or sewer? Okay. Any questions on anything else that we've already gone through on his budget?
She came in there, she came in there.
All right, in that case, thank you.
Sure.
Take me just a minute or two to set up. So as always, my finance PowerPoint or my budget presentation is under the Chiefs tab on the department's website. And I have 12 copies, which I might need. I'll share it when I get done with the-
What, is it the same?
Yeah.
I brought
Okay.
it.
All right, if everybody wants to, and also hit an easy button for y'all. Because I did a sheet of expenses.
It's the same thing as this, yeah.
Yep, all those are the
That's
same,
more
and
of
then
those,
all of
more of
that's the
those,
same.
yeah. There you go.
Now, prior to going into my budget, I have to clear up a little bit of information based on my initial meeting with y'all
Those are the same, aren't they?
back a while. If you're not aware, a letter was issued by the Attorney General's office stating their stance on providing input with a conflict of interest matter. I will keep my comments general as I have initiated a complaint based on the information contained in and not contained in the letter. I responded to the letter in writing and included evidence which supports the statements made to the Finance Committee on October 25th, 2023. In summary, the conversation between myself and Public Integrity Unit members was in reference to a potential violation of an RSA. That RSA is 641-2, unsworn falsification. All members of the Finance Committee take an oath of office and sign the Ware Code of Ethics, which is not enforced by town ordinance. To violate an RSA, intended action are needed. No action had taken place to my knowledge at that time. Section 3 of that RSA allows the person to retract the falsification, which was the basis for my statement to the Finance Committee. This was pointed out in follow-up questioning. In my conversation with the county attorney, a different RSA was suggested. The conflict involves the committee member taking an oath to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me. The statement made prior to taking the oath of office would indicate the intent to not follow the oath. Again, the intent has not been acted upon to the best of my knowledge. I had originally reached out to the PIU due to their experience in reviewing criminal allegations should the stated intent be acted upon against state government officials. In the November 15th conversation, it was explained to me that a member of the Finance Committee is not a state official, and the PIU and its personnel should not offer guidance regarding these matters outside of referring them to the county attorney. Now, somehow, the town moderator obtained a letter issued by the AG prior to me receiving it. The town moderator, in a statement to the Board of Selectmen on this past Monday, the 4th of December, Chief Moore actually stood up and stated he has spoken to the Public Integrity Unit and that they gave him a direction with regards to one of the members of the Finance Committee that they needed to recuse themselves per the PIU. So, and this is a quote, this letter which you guys, meaning the BOS, have a copy of states that that's not true. I provided the moderator with a copy of that letter earlier and asked him to show me where that was in that letter. I asked him to clarify that statement tonight, and he's refused. So I just wanted to give you an update of where we're at with that process. All right. Oh, I'll send this to the AG too. That's not a problem.
That's good, because you're accusing me of making a false statement now.
No, you made a false statement,
I didn't
which
know
is
it.
on video. Please, you have the letter. I asked you to show me where that is in the letter.
Okay, I think we gotta get,
Decide.
You said you were asked to.
Yeah. you gotta get on track here with
asked
what
to
we're,
relay
our
this
purpose is
information
tonight.
to town officials and correct the inaccuracy regarding the PIU's involvement.
Which is a conflict of statement, and that's not.
We've got all of the letters on both sides, and that's for us to decide what we want to believe and what we don't want to believe. So we just want to move on with the presentation of the budget. That's what we're here for.
Very good. Make sure no one's biased by incorrect information. Ware Police Department 2024 budget presentation. All right, so I always include where my taxes go. Now, this is from the 22 budget. Less than 4.2% of your overall taxes went to the police department. Of the town rate collected, we took up about 24% of that. And the total tax rate was approximately 73 cents of the $17.40 paid. So this year we've been quite successful with grants. We've obtained $135,095 in grants. Now, when I was at the Chiefs Conference, this grant right here the state police actually maintain custody of that. It's just like our intoxilizer machine. They purchase it, they get it under the grant, they just give it to us to use. We were scheduled to have a public hearing on this, we still might on the 18th, but really no public hearing is needed since the state's not actually awarding this, but they're letting us use $20,000 worth of equipment. Salary and benefits, so salary and benefits has ranged from 80.67% of the budget to 86.4% of the budget. In 2024, it'll be 85.4% of my budget, so it's a major part. During that time, inflation's risen 20.73% from 2020 to 2024, and that's projected amounts too. Salary and benefits have risen 21.29%, so salary and benefits have kept up with inflation. But during that time, department expenses had only increased 11.87% during this period, so we're 8.86% short of maintaining the monetary value that I once had. That equates to a deficiency of approximately $23,000. And of course, the note, I took out the former prosecutor contract because that would skew the numbers. All right, so into the individual accounts, I'll go by, if I say account, this is what I'm referring to, but if the line's here too, I added that for you guys because I used to confuse you with that little bit of information. So prosecutor evidence collection, no change. Record storage, no change, and this line will cease to exist in 2026. We moved all our records downstairs, the town gave us a space, and we have to build some shelves over the next 2 years for the amount of boxes we have, but once the shelves are built, that line's gone. Prosecutor services, so that used to be the $78,000 contract. This has increased slightly just because we have the administrative assistant doing discovery requests now, because we handle prosecutor duties in-house currently. I'm also approaching the board to go back to a attorney prosecutor because the court is changing the way they do business, which is going to substantially increase the overtime needed to handle these ancillary duties. So the board will be considering that. Uh-oh, got crazy. There we go. Telephone, no change.
With regards to inflation, what's the variance between the years? And
So I have that written down, I can send that to you later. But generally, if it's a past year, I want to say I used the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis on what they said inflation was, and Statistica for projected inflation. That was the first major source I located for projected inflation.
Just curious if it's the median or the mean.
That's a good question, I didn't look. They only offered one number that I saw.
If you could get back to us on that, because that would skew the numbers.
Yep. All right. Dispatch, this was a contractual increase. Even though it says over, under, you can see the increase here was a couple $1,000s. We are in year 3 of a 3-year contract, so the next year's contract, we'll see, have to see where that goes. Police recruitment, an increase just because, and I would consider anything under $1,000 not a significant increase, so that's why it's not listed on that one sheet I gave you. I only listed significant increases. But we had an increase to the fees for background investigations. They went up by $100 each, and I project three recruitment processes per year. And on recruitment, we're almost fully staffed. We're projected to be fully staffed January 12th. I'm currently in the process of scheduling to appear before the Board of Selectmen for permission to move a part-timer back to full-time, and he'll come back to full-time January 12th, and we'll be fully staffed. So hopefully that line, nothing gets spent next year. Police accreditation. So we used to be CALEA accredited. The state has now come up with its own accreditation process. The fees contained in here are for the software used to track the different standards, the application fee for accreditation through the state, and for an individual who reviews our policies and procedures to ensure they're compliant. So we'll be able to, there is never an on-site visit, so it will be standard, this cost per year. Currently, the Police Standards and Training Commission are in negotiations with Primex to get the town reduced rates for towns which are accredited. So that process is going on. So it would offset this cost somewhat if we were to do that. Yes, sir.
How much did it cost us in Kalia? Do you
So
remember?
Kalia, if I recall correctly, I think we were $8,500, except in reaccreditation years because we had to pay the fees for on-site assessments, which means I think we were paying 3 people from other states to fly here, stay in hotels, look at our policies, interact. I didn't see the bills from them, but I would project it was probably about a $15,000 a year for when you're actually reaccreditation.
And that was one every 3 years?
Every 3 years, yes, sir.
Further questions, Mr. Chairman? In addition to these fees, will you have to have any other expenditures in order to meet the requirements?
No. No. It's 114 standards. Most of them are simple. Submit a copy of your oath of office. I've briefly bruised them. No heavy lifting. It's just proving, through policies or what have you, that we have the correct philosophy as a police department to ensure liability is mitigated through our actions.
And if that's the
said that
case,
right.
if that's the case, why would Primex want to lower rates?
Because if we're accredited, it means we're doing the right thing. We have the policies in place to make sure if we get in a police pursuit, the town is protected from unnecessary liability, from us putting the public safety at risk more than necessary. That's one of our biggest topics. Or if we get a use of force and an individual files a lawsuit against the town for an injury, do we have the policies in place, which are the industry, the law enforcement industry standard for best practices? Did we follow those standards? And if so, were we contributory toward the injury occurring outside of what we were required to do?
Okay. And final question, are any of these expenses one-time?
No, they're recurring.
So we'll spend $3,500 a year every year in the future?
Yes. Yeah, 3 different areas. Like I said, there's the software, Power DMS, there's the accreditation fee, and then there's the policy review.
Go ahead.
No, it doesn't relate to the cost, but you have ongoing training for your officers so
sir.
that they know what
That
to
wouldn't be in this
stand-
line, that's a different line.
What to go, okay.
Yeah, this is just accreditation fees and fees linked to
But the
accreditation.
training is part of that. I mean, not the cost, but the training kind of looks back at that. What are these policies?
If there's a certification, and I haven't looked in depth at this, if there's a certification saying officers must do 16 hours of training outside of the typical firearms use of force just as part of career development, then we would have to submit records, and yes, we would need a training budget to complete those tasks, which we have. We have an adequate training budget to complete that.
Yeah, Chief, we stopped with the Kalia, right? So right now, this is something the state is instituting now.
Yes,
So
$1.
right- So right now, we're not accredited, right? Or-
No, correct. Yeah, and there's only $1 in line, and
Right,
yeah, sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
okay.
Finish that,
So the
something else popped in my head.
So what you're saying is before Kalia, we felt we really didn't need that. I think from other years you were saying you were
It's
you were
good.
comfortable where we're at, or whatever,
Yeah.
but now we need this because you're not comfortable where we're at.
No, I'm comfortable where we're at. It's always best practice to be accredited to reduce the liability
Liability.
potential
Yeah, okay.
for the town. This is a low cost to reduce that liability. I just remember too, at the Chiefs Conference, like I was saying, Power DMS is one of the fees. I want to say that's $800 annually. We were told by a representative from the Accreditation Commission, they have received a grant which should offset that cost. So that's not finalized, so if that becomes long-term, which it may, I'm able to reduce this after it's instituted by $800.
Is there sorry.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Is there an offset with insurance, perhaps?
It's in the works.
I see.
That's Primex, where the academy is in negotiation with Primex to determine It seems likely they're going, from what we were told, it's on the way, it just hasn't been instituted, nor do we know the amounts yet.
I see,
So
thank you.
you're saying that they're working so that it would apply to all police departments
Who are
if they
accredited.
are accredited?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and those meetings have already been taking place.
If the reduction in Primex doesn't equal this cost, why should we do this? Since you already say you can meet all these requirements, you just have to fill in the boxes and so forth.
Correct, but when you are accredited, it's a outside review of your policy and procedure, ensuring that you're in line with national standards as far as law enforcement policies, procedures, actions, which reduces liability. If we didn't have to do that, we'd probably be paying way more in attorney fees to go back. If we had a lawsuit, we'd have to pay our attorneys to go by and view our policy procedures to make sure they're compliant, rather than having that outside agency already stated, nope, these guys are compliant with this, we know what that standard is, we know they've already met this threshold. So it's probably saving money in that review too.
If there's an incident.
If there's an incident, correct. And we haven't had any, I take that back. Of course, we've had an officer shot 30 days after I was here, back in 2019. We've had no other incidents I'm aware of.
Gary?
There, this may not be a question exactly for you, it might be for the committee. Insurance coverage for the town, I'm not sure if that comes out of this budget or what budget, but I anticipate that if we do get this accreditation, it could help our ratings for insurance coverage, which could then ultimately reduce costs by getting a lower rate.
There is an overall line in the town budget, which we'll see
Okay.
for insurance, which would include
Yes,
all
we may not see it
departments.
here, we may see the increase in cost for accreditation here, but we might see a reduction in a different budget.
Tom?
Quick question, Chief. If you get accredited, are there benefits where there is an incident or a lawsuit that there's some organization that would back and support that process? Or, I mean, is there any benefit on that end of it? Other than some liability shifting potentially, or?
I think it would just be an argument for the attorney saying this,
Was
prior
it-
to this incident, this organization has already met the minimal standards for New Hampshire accreditation.
Okay.
Those standards are bump, bump, bump.
Okay.
Which would be part of the
Yeah,
defense.
it's not like a AAA policy or anything like
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay. Police building maintenance increase, so I've been watching service fees go up. We're getting surcharges where we used to not get surcharges just for them to put gas in their tank that everybody else has to do too. And they're usually pretty substantial. General fees have gone up, but this represents a 10% increase, and I'm probably seeing over 10% increases when we're fixing things in many cases. Evidence recovery storage, this is an increase just due to the vendor fees and we researched the lowest cost. We rent 2 large bays. They've increased their cost 5 times probably in the last 2 years. They're still the cheapest. Long-term vision, and I've talked to the fire chief about this, is to partner with them to possibly construct a new east station. He thinks that'd be slightly over $100,000, where there'd be 2 sides of the building. We'd have one half the side where we could get rid of our bays and we'd be able to store evidence and cars potentially in that second half. If you look at this, at what we're paying, if you multiply that over 30 years, that's over $100,000. So, it's close to $150,000. So that might pay for itself, if I'm right. 45,000 times 3, whatever that is. 135,000. So that might, he I don't know how far he's in that research. He put that number out there that just over 100,000, 125,000.
In the prior slide, with regards to the maintenance charges, are there any charges that could be deferred to future years to
And
prevent?
which ones? Which slide are you talking about?
With regards to the maintenance, like the carpet replacement, the door repair,
Yeah, we,
are there any things that could be like deferred to the future to prevent any inflationary
Yes.
impact given current
so
market?
I haven't replaced Cartman in 3 years now. Yeah, everything else has been required just because these types of repairs have taken up the entire budget. Some of our carpet's frayed, which is a tripping hazard and is a safety issue, but I don't have the budget to repair that, and I don't see that happening anytime. But yeah, the carpet has needed to be replaced at least 3 years, and haven't been able to do it.
So the 10% increase is based on which variables exactly?
Service cost increasing, the highlighted portion.
I see. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Okay. Police training, no change. Police printing, no change. Police dues increase, just $250 increase because we had one new membership. Mileage reimbursement, no change. Rubbish removal, no change. Cleaning services, no change. Janitorial supplies, no change. Police supplies increase, and I've been talking about this for a few years. Ammunition costs have increased, and this is just to help offset the ammunition that keeps going up, and we have to shoot at state standards, and we don't do anything really excessive. We do our minimal night shoot, day shoot, qualified new individuals, and this year we sent 2 people to the academy, which absolutely blew our ammunition stores and budget. So, yeah.
Neil?
What does frangible mean?
It's a different type of it kind of dissipates on impact. It's usually used at indoor ranges, so the academy uses that type of ammunition, so they're not building up lead dust, building up lead.
That's a real word.
Oh, yeah.
It's not made up.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Police taser equipment, so still the big 3, and you'll see them on your sheet, we haven't had body worn cameras, tasers, or ballistic equipment fully funded since I've been here. Tasers have been here for years, we're just trying to get it in the budget finally. So this line is for the batteries and cartridges, of what it takes for us to qualify on tasers annually. This is for the actual tasers themselves. This is an increase not funded, and I don't think any of the costs related to any of those items has really changed since the last few budget presentations. Radio maintenance contract, no change. Body worn camera, again, this is just the licensing media storage for 15 body worn cameras, doesn't include the equipment. Computer equipment, so this is a significant increase. Microsoft was smart and changed the way they do business. Usually we used to get a license for all the programs with the computer that we bought. Now they changed it to user fees, which added a significant amount to my budget because now we have to pay per officer. Plus, obviously, we're a very computer-heavy department. Just this year, earlier I had one computer go out. Both of my laptops have gone out. And I have to get a new computer for another station, so that's 4 computers that's just there. So this is we are very heavily dependent on this line. Police body worn camera equipment, again, hasn't been funded. The costs haven't increased at all, it's the same from last year. Equipment, furniture, no change. Office supplies, no change. IMC server maintenance, if you recall correctly, I always talk about how I watched this line year after year because it didn't make sense why it was so specific. And I couldn't figure out why it was. So last year I finally lowered it and I get increases on both of them. So those are the vendor increases. Photocopier services increase, just contractual. Postage, no change, and this, $300. We're doing more and more, being computer dependent. We're now doing crash reports and e-tickets online, so that's all sent electronically. So we're not having to mail those forms as much, so that might go down a little bit, but $300 is not gonna make a huge impact.
Is there any opportunities to put out a competitive bid for technology, given the consolidation that has occurred in the industry?
So technology, we use a town vendor.
Yeah, we have 1 more year.
I see. Thank you.
And that is put out to bid, right?
Yeah, we put out, I think,
Yeah.
it's gonna go back out after 24.
Got it.
Fuel vehicles, the Board of Selectmen, I'm sorry, the Finance Director sets this, and it's approved by the BOS, so they're estimating $4 a gallon. department is estimated to use 7,900 gallons. Of course, we're gonna be fully staffed. And if you watch our month report, we make a lot of arrests, a lot of traffic stops, so we're out there, we're definitely driving. Police safety medical gear, no change. Police vehicle repairs, increase. So this is, particularly with the Dodges, I've got 3 2017 Dodges. This is one after it broke out. That was just the starter, so that was an easy fix. The average on my 3 2017 Dodges was at 3,900. I'm up above that. I want to say I'm $5,000 over the line right now. The 2018 Dodge was $1,200 in repairs. Since the last few weeks, vehicle 4, the transmission's gone. It was estimated to be $4,600. I got the estimates about just under $4,300. We are not fixing that pending the outcome of the warrant article for the next vehicle. Because if that would be the car that we would send to auction. But yeah, it makes no sense to spend $4,200 on a 6-month repair if we get another car and it's gonna be replaced anyway. But I did increase, because we're still gonna have at least, even if that's approved, 2 of these 2017 Dodges and the 2018 Dodge. That line's not gonna be sufficient for the breakdowns we're seeing and the increase in cost for keeping those on the road, which was the increase. Police maintenance and tires, no change. Books updates, no change. Communication equipment, no change. Defensive force equipment training, no change. Juvenile diversion projects, no change. Uniform maintenance, dry cleaning, no change. Officer uniforms equipment, no change. Ballistic equipment, like I said, this has not been fully funded. $1,760 is a line. One ballistic vest by itself is $1,500. I've got 15 officers. They're only good for 5 years. I need 3 a year. Helmets, good for 5 years. I need 3 a year. Trauma plates, 3 a year, good for 5 years. Shield, good for 5 years. I need 1 a year because we only keep them in the frontline patrol vehicles. You add all that up, that's where I get that budget line from. And that's, you know, if we had 1 year where we had a lot of turnover. I want to say it was last year. It might have been the year before, but we needed 6 vests that year, not just the 3. So
Those are custom fit.
yes, can't be reused for other officers. Custom fit for the officer. Uniform allowance. That's a CBA line, no change. But just to let you know, we did find a different vendor, and we cut that line almost in half. So. Police grant reimbursement, so I'm proposing this line. You saw the grant that we got. Some of those grants require a town contribution of 25%. Next year, I'm not gonna have, my bottom line budget is gonna be bottom line. I'm not gonna have a lot of fluctuation, so I need a line where I can obtain that 25% to seek equipment. So we will see that back if it's spent fourfold, 4 times. So that would equate to $20,000 worth of grant items. This year, if I had that line, I would have spent just under $3,000. We got 2 LiDAR units, a car radar unit. There's been opportunities for vehicle computers, but we didn't need vehicle computers, so we didn't get any. But we could get them in the future. We would need them. And the speed traffic signs, which we're still waiting on. They'll go up around the schools. Any questions on that line? Yes, sir.
Why can't you take this out of the money you don't spend?
Well, that's just it. Next year, I'm not gonna have money I don't spend. Yeah, if I have a bottom line budget projected for a fully staffed department, I'm going to be fully staffed.
But you know that you won't be, you know. It's very
Are
unlikely
you trying us
that
to
you will
get rid
be,
of people?
it's very unlikely that you will be fully staffed for 12 months. There will be some turnover. And during the turnover period, when it takes you a month or 2 or whatever to hire the new employee, those lines will produce more than enough money to cover this.
So I do my best to make sure we keep the people we have.
And and your best is very good, I'm not denying that, but nonetheless, things happen. People
Agreed.
move, all sorts of things happen.
I haven't looked at what our turnover rate is lately. I know I put out in prior years, when I did the math, we were losing an officer on average once every 3.8 months. This last year, we lost 2 officers, so that's 1 out of every 6 months. One was getting her law degree, so that was anticipated. I don't have anybody like that. The other one went from full-time to part-time and coming back to full-time. So, yeah, it's in a different year. Technically, did I lose them? So my turnover rate is very low.
It may be, but there'll be $5,000 in that line.
Tom?
Take you out to dinner if there's less than $5,000.
Wait, I want to say that one more time?
If you have less than $5,000 in your salary line left over at the end of December
Oh, okay.
31st,
Just a minute, we have conflict of interest here.
I'm sorry, I have to rescind the offer, chief.
May I ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
By having money in that line, you would not have to go back to the taxpayers to get that money, correct?
Correct.
Which would mean the taxpayers do not have a right to control where their money is spent and whether they want it spent on something, correct?
Incorrect. So the taxpayers elect a board of selectmen who have to approve all grants. I can't go get grants on my own, they have to be approved by the board of selectmen.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I think the point is that it's one thing to have the selectmen approve whatever it is you're doing. It's another thing to have the voters approve. And Lori's point was that if you have this line, it's the selectmen who will approve, not the taxpayers.
Correct. But that would be limited to $20,000 worth of equipment.
Again, it would still eliminate the taxpayers deciding if they wanted that equipment.
Taxpayers don't necessarily decide what equipment I get. So I have a training line of $15,000. I don't get taxpayer input on what training we send officers to. I have a police supply line of $8,000, I believe. I don't go to the taxpayers for what I spend that line on. I give them a summary of what my expenses are, ammunition, this, that, and the other. Just like you just saw my ballistic line. It's vests, helmets, trauma plates, shields. But I don't go to the taxpayers on which shields do you want me to get, which ballistic helmets do you want me to get.
Right, but most departments do go to the taxpayers when they want a specific item, because the taxpayers like to have control of where they have their money.
If it's a CIP issue, correct. These wouldn't be CIP issues.
Just, that's probably a better discussion when we get to the point of making recommendations, rather than here. But just as a comment, there have been several public hearings this year for the selectmen to accept grant, one being the vehicle and the speed control items that you talked about earlier. So there is that, you're right, they're not on the warrant, but if the money's gonna be available, the town, through the selectmen, have to hold a public hearing in order to accept that, which would be also accepting the fact that they have to pay the 25%, which is out of this line. Neil?
Two things. First, Chief, could you provide your budget in this kind of a format?
So Beth does that.
Okay, but it's really helpful to us because this is what we're going to be using in making our decisions, rather than that presentation.
Okay.
And secondly, could you tell us, you have more to go?
Oh, yes.
This is just a summary one.
I'll hold the next question.
Next to the last one.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this one?
Well,
All right, and there's the summary of significant increases. Like I said, anything under $1,000, I didn't list. There were only a couple of those.
Who wants to?
Bill, go ahead,
yeah,
sorry.
on the end. Chief, when we went through, we saw either no change or increases, no change, increases. I didn't see any decreases.
No, sir.
Okay. Beth would have the other line, but what I'm interested in is, what doesn't show here is the actual expenditures that you spent in some of those lines. Like if you say no change, did you even look at what I spent last year? Maybe I could have decreased some of these.
Yeah, no. Mine is a bottom line budget. It's
Not
as
one,
close.
not
so
one, not one category in there.
Yep,
had
so
a
you've
decrease
heard
in it?
me talk about life cycle management since I've been here. Life cycle management means a flat line budget. If I'm telling you I need this for straight accreditation, I don't need $3,750. I need $3,499. I project as close as I can
I
to
know.
what is actually spent.
I know, I'll just agree to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
But, because I think in some areas, like we just heard DPW, this is going up, this is going down, and then you come out with a number. I just can't believe that you go through your whole budget and you don't have anything that's a decrease.
Nope, my budget is based on a
Okay.
15 staff department. If I have overages currently, is because my staffing was down 2 at one point.
Okay. Go
So,
ahead.
the mandated increases to existing accounts, totally, I increased my budget by 1.6%. The new mandated, which was the Microsoft fees, that affects my budget by 0.02%, and the recommended increases would increase my budget by 0.4%. If you add those up, 2.2%, the projected inflation this year, I believe is 3.4%. So I've stayed under projected inflation as far as my increases. Yes, sir.
Could you share with us, since we don't have the information, but just in general terms, which accounts this year, 2023, will not be fully expended, and by roughly how much?
I'll go back through them all real quick. I want to say there's still 2,000 in that account. As you know, our DUIs have gone significantly up. We're going to be over 60 DUIs this year. And you can see these are for blood draws, so I would not recommend any changes to that. Towing fees regarding, it depends on how many we hit of this. Record storage,
I was thinking of the larger lines, like salaries.
yeah, I don't do salary.
What do you mean?
That's set by the Board of Selectmen contract. I don't negotiate salary.
I don't think I made myself clear. You have a line for employee salaries, right? Okay. If you don't, are you going to expend every dollar in that amount that was appropriated in 2023?
Oh, no,
Okay.
yes.
How much will be left over?
So I asked Beth, I think, is Beth off today? I didn't get a response when I asked that question today. I didn't get a response.
And tomorrow.
And tomorrow.
Further question?
Yeah, I just, maybe Naomi can answer. I believe that when we see the total budget, it's all gonna be set up in the same way. This is the chief's presentation, but the budget itself for the different departments will all be set up on a straight across, which shows the increase, decrease, and so forth.
Just like the DBW.
Yeah, just like the
He
DPW.
details each line to give you.
Right, so some of that, what you're asking will be answered when we see it in that format,
Thank you.
okay?
And a follow-up. Chief, are there any expenditures that you're going to ask the selectmen to make out of 2023 leftover money that might more appropriately be in your 2024 budget? Like building cameras?
Building cameras isn't in my 2024 budget.
Correct.
Or would they be?
Are you projecting that you're going to be asking the selectmen to use surplus from 2023 to pay for building cameras?
No, building cameras is already authorized for me to purchase under the town purchasing policy as an emergency expenditure because it's a safety measure. That's been discussed in CIP and other areas. That's already in progress. It's gonna be $22,500. And that's to repair, not to upgrade the system or add to the system.
Thank you.
There are, I do have an idea of what expenses you're talking about, that I do have a projection of what my end-of-year purchase request from the board would be, if you want me to go over them real quick.
Bill, you have?
No, go ahead, Neil, finish.
The concern is that we try to, historically, we've tried to run the town so that when various departments need stuff, it goes into the budget and the taxpayers have some sort of a choice on approving it or not approving it. there has been some expenditures in the past where the selectmen legally have taken money out of surplus because a line like the highway department salary line was not fully expended. And they would do all sorts of expenditures out of those lines using money that they have and legitimately could do, but where the voters never had a chance to weigh in on it. And that is a practice which increasingly is causing folks in town to be a little upset about. So my question to you is, are there any proposals that you have to use surplus money from 2023 for projects which were not in your budget for 2023, but could have been in your budget for 2024?
No.
Thank you.
No, I'll take that back, one.
And what is that?
With the new corporal, we have to send him to a leadership school, which is about $5,000, and that's standard. We do it every time a new corporal is done. Because we're fully staffed, there's other training areas that we need to meet. So I am asking that to be an end-of-year purchase to ensure I have adequate funds in my remaining training budget next year.
And that will come out of your surplus funds as opposed to the general surplus?
Yes. Yeah, anything I propose is my surplus funds. And with your question, I would also ask you to get the town numbers on what I have returned to the taxpayer on an annual basis since I've been here, because it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And this is the budget that's 100%, what did you say, Bill?
I don't think we got any return this last year.
Yeah, I didn't spend it all. It was significant. It was over 100,000, I believe.
Well, it didn't come back
Mostly
to
in the
tax.
salary line.
Let me
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah, it wouldn't be out of this area, because this area is pretty much all based on life cycle management. Zero-based budget.
Bill, Jim?
So that, going back just real quick, on the light, on the 22,000, whatever it was that you already got.
Camera
approved.
system,
Camera
CCTV.
Camera system, not lighting, camera system. So that was approved, and it's a safety measure or something?
Yes,
So, okay.
safety issue.
But the dollars for that were not in your budget, but you had leftover money, and is that leftover money is what's paying for that, right?
Yes, correct.
So you did have something in this year's budget that you got approved that is being paid for by.
But it wouldn't be on my, that's not what he asked. He asked if it would be in my funds for next year's budget. I don't have a
No, I'm
22,000.
saying that camera system wasn't in your 2023 budget as a line item.
Correct.
You had money left over. You conferred with the Board of Selectmen. It's a safety issue. They blessed it. The dollars that pay for that.
They didn't,
Well,
yeah.
the dollars that pay for that are coming out of leftover money that was in your budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Could you define the zero, the life cycle management, just because as to Bill's point and Neil's, I'm having trouble with reconciling the over-under, because that would tell me that there would be either an under on a line that would then be redistributed to another expense, or an over that would then be either cut from another line. So I'm having trouble with understanding how that's managed, and could you mind just defining it?
Let me find one line. Where's a set amount? Well, there you go. Zero-based budget. These are my two bills. These add up to this. There's no overage, no underage. If they increase their fees, I have to increase my budget. I project what each line will cost. Not in excess, so I have a slush fund. Not an underage, so I'm deficient on my budget, but what it costs, every single line that I have control over.
Tom? To clarify for me, when we saw you for CIP, you're asking for a command car, correct? That's what the grant is supposed to be, correct?
No, I didn't ask for one at CIP.
There's a car coming up.
That's a patrol vehicle.
Okay, now, if I got the information wrong, which is possible, I was under the impression there was a possibility that you might be able to cover the cost of that vehicle without it affecting the taxpayers, correct?
Correct. Well, it would impact the taxpayers, because essentially it would be money, just like Mr. Kirk
It's
asked
money
this.
that's left over from
Correct.
somewhere
Yes,
versus us raising the tax rate,
correct.
correct?
Yes,
So to your point, if I've got you right, and tell me if I've got it wrong, You were asking if there's money left over somewhere in his budget. The answer is yes, if we are able to do that with the cruiser, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just, instead of giving potentially money back to the taxpayer.
Correct.
It's saying we didn't spend it this year, and rather than putting it as a warrant article, we want to
Yes.
present it that we can cover it this year, so it may more easily pass
Right.
that way, rather than going through the process of
Which takes it out of the hand of the
returning
taxpayers.
and having it stand alone in a warrant article of whether the voter really wants that.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
understood
But
that.
each of the departments have a bottom line budget. I mean, and that allows some flexibility during the year. I don't see, again, opinion. I don't see the issue with that. If they stay within the bottom line and they get permission from or the go-ahead from the Board of Selectmen before making a movement within the lines, that's just, it's been a standard operation for as long as I can remember. It's not just the PD department here.
Just a point of clarification, I think we're using terms a little bit differently. When we say a bottom line budget, it means he's gonna have his $2 million budget that he can spend whatever he wants to, as long as it's within that bottom dollar, on the bottom line of his budget. What I believe the chief is saying is he is trying to budget so that there is no leftover, that he's not gonna have to move numbers around. And then whatever would be left over at the end of the year would more likely go back to the taxpayers, if I'm interpreting this correctly. That if he doesn't spend what's in a particular line item, then he's not gonna take that and put into it. He doesn't have to take it and put it into another line item, because everything's gonna be fully funded. Then anything that is left over, whether it's probably from salaries, would then be able to go back to the taxpayers at the end of the year. And he wouldn't have to take any end of the year spending.
Correct.
Thank you.
Very well done. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Carrie?
I was just gonna say, zero-based budgeting, from what my experience in former, employments, is basically, like, we have, what I've been seeing here in town is we've got that default budget where that gets entered onto the budget line, or at least with looking at the school thing. Zero-based budgeting doesn't look at that, they basically start from zero. So the chief is just looking at the cost that he needs for this year and just making the lines that, so technically we could, take look historically at his budget and see what he had in those line items and then come up with a variance, but it's not really necessary. He's looking at exactly what he needs and coming up with that, and I haven't seen your historical budgets, but he could be coming in under what he had previously. It might be a little over, I don't know, because I haven't looked at yours. But did I describe exactly, or kind of what you were trying to say?
No, that was it. You're on point.
I'm just trying to.
I want to clarify what you said about a car. My understanding is that you got a grant to cover the cost of a command vehicle,
Correct.
and that's coming in very shortly.
Yes.
Are you saying that you're going to take the cost of a patrol car and out of the surplus remaining in your account from 2023?
Yes, so I have multiple funding sources available, which would need approval from the Board of Selectmen, and I would leave that up to them. So that car is roughly $84,000. We're gonna reuse a radar system, which will lower to, and these are rough numbers, $81,000. Everybody knows we do dam patrols. I'm requesting we use, I believe it was $16,000 of dam patrol funding to offset it, which brings it down to whatever. I can't do math that quick. We've had a detail fund for vehicles, which hasn't been touched since 2014. And the reason it hasn't been touched, I've been communicating with the town attorney for a couple years now. When that warrant article to set up that fund was passed, there was so much public comment on it, it became convoluted, and we had trouble using it appropriately with the intent of those citizens who passed it, if I'm saying that correctly. So, This year, I sat down with Beth, I looked at the numbers, and based on what the town attorney, told me, based on our usage, I could justify spending up to $36,000 of that account. We don't have that much in there, so I proposed spending $19,000 to offset the cost of the vehicle. And roughly, that leaves about $46,000 of the cost of the vehicle, which I'm asking the board to offset with my remaining revenue.
Follow-up? Don't you think it would be fairer to the taxpayers to put that in as a warrant article for $46,000 in the 2024 budget? So
Me?
that so that the taxpayers can decide whether they want another car funded, as you have pointed out, at much lower than the $84,000 sticker price.
No, because there needs to be accountability on both ends. What would be fair would be to put the vehicle in the actual budget, so I don't even have to go through the process. Everybody agrees that I need one car per year. I agree with that. One car per year in the budget would let me do our job without having to spend exorbitant amounts of time attempting to justify this vehicle. Earlier this year, we had one patrol vehicle available for our 10 officers for a month and a half. The people who call for our help want immediate response. They don't want to hear that we didn't pass a vehicle in the budget process. We need to have the equipment available to do our job. So if you're asking me what my opinion is, it needs to be in the budget. I didn't propose that this year.
John, did you have a question?
I just have a quick comment. So the taxpayers do have a say if he uses end-of-year funds for whatever he's gonna use, because we vote for the selectmen. So we have a say when we vote for the selectmen, do we not? Indirectly, we do, but,
yeah, that's
so,
true.
okay.
The taxpayers also have a say in what type of department they want. They can go to 24/7 coverage, which would increase the budget. I'd increase my lines proportionally. They can reduce the services they want, which would decrease the budget proportionally. And if you got to a point where you're not needing one car a year, maybe you get 6 officers and you get one car every other 2 years. Good luck making that happen.
Is there anybody else? Tom?
Yeah, I got not a curveball, but I gotta go back to another slide and ask a question that I didn't have a chance to earlier. But I will make a comment that I don't think putting a car in the budget that's capital. This is an operating budget, so I don't know that a car is appropriate in the budget, just based on what was just said, but, 617, it's the body worn camera. Why is that not a capital, request? Can you explain to me how that's operating? You're buying body cameras?
Yes, so we don't do it by contract, if that's what you mean. We only buy what we need. We buy 3 body cameras a year, and I budget for one battery port where we recharge them a year.
All right, so you're on a recurring purchase,
Yep, life cycle management.
which kind of makes it operating then?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, if we went to contract, this would probably double, because I just got a pitch for them. And with that, they replace, was it them or Taser? It was one of these two. It was double of what we, to go by contract, it was double of what it might have been Taser, because I think, I don't remember. I've got that, I looked at the number and I quickly discarded that, because, yeah.
You all set, Tom?
Yeah, thanks.
Bill?
Hey,
Anyone else?
One more, just a
Okay.
general question. Chief, if you had to live with a default budget as opposed to your proposed budget, just a quick list of maybe 3 or 4, what would be the biggest line items, headlines, that you would not be able to do? In other words, proposed budget does not get passed, the impact on the police department is we're not gonna be able to do A, B, C. I have to live with a default budget. What are the 3 items or 4 items that are gonna have the biggest impact on your department?
Right here. Body worn cameras, tasers, and ballistic equipment. I've got a full department. I have to get 3 vests a year. Yeah, where are we at?
Okay, you have to get 3 vests, so you are gonna buy those, no matter
Have
what.
to, yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna have an impact somewhere else. If you
It's gonna
you
have
know.
to. I don't
Right.
think the town
So
wants to
what-
get sued because we're not providing officers with vests.
Okay, so something else what is the something else that's gonna be impacted?
Nothing. Board of Selectmen's gonna have, again, I am a bottom line, zero-based budget. I don't have extra slush funds in my budget. The board would have to figure it out.
Anyone?
No.
I think we're good.
Okay. Animal control budget, this one's gonna be easy. And we do have an animal control officer, we are fully staffed. Professional services, no change. Electricity, no change. Meeting seminars, no change. Supplies, no change. Fuel is a change just because the price of gas went up, and he's projected at 100 gallons for the year. Safety medical gear, no change. Vehicle maintenance repairs, no change. And shelter maintenance, no change. Oh, and that's it. Those are the numbers for the vehicle. Actually, that's what I was talking about before. We're using the radar, 81,690. The vehicle cost initially 84,190. We're using the radar, saving 2,500, 81,690. Detail count 19,000. Everett Dam Patrol 16,000. So asking for end of year funds 46,690.
Quick question. Reuse radar means you're taking it out of the old car and recycling it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are good for at least 2 vehicles.
All right.
And it's only been in 1 vehicle. And we do that with any equipment.
Good.
The radio is also gonna get reused. But I think that was from somewhere else, if I recall correctly. There's a reason it wasn't in here.
Okay.
But if it can go in here, that would further reduce that ask.
Anyone else? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Chief. Subcommittee reports, is there anyone, a lot of it's coming up. Tom, you had some questions that, Bill.
No questions. I'm just gonna, just a reminder that the, Ware School Board will have their workshop, and it's posted on the website, is some confusion over 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. The website says 6 to 8 on the 12th. Okay,
But
that's,
we've been told it's 4 to 6.
who told you?
The school board at the
It
meeting.
said 4 o'clock at the meeting, but it says 6 o'clock on the
And I
website.
talked
website
to the
still says 6
SAU
to 8.
yesterday, and they said it's 4. So,
Well, I will
Just
call
split
them
it.
Show up at
tomorrow.
4,
Somebody's
bring
going
dinner with
forward,
you, and
somebody's
sit
going
there until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's
can I
from
say?
4 to 8.
Okay, yeah, what can I say?
Go to
The
4.
website, I looked at it today, says 6 to 8, right there,
understand that.
right there. So it's either at 4 o'clock or it's at 6 o'clock, more to follow.
maybe we should just have dinner
If-
catered.
Yeah, if anybody from the school board is watching, is it 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock? Okay, can we get that straight?
Go at 4 and bring
Okay.
your Kindle.
Yeah, you'll be late if you get there at 6, I guess. Ware School Board will have its normal meeting at 19 December at 6. I think Stark meets on the 13th.
The 13th at 6 o'clock.
There you go, yeah.
Correct.
Where did they meet? In the
In
library
room
still?
one, no, room 144, which you gotta go in,
To the
just
left.
before you get to the gym doors, take a left, and it's gonna be around the corner on the left.
Oh,
Room
okay.
144.
If you see a custodian, he will help you
Yeah.
That's
find
the,
it.
that's the 13th at 6?
Correct. John Stark.
Yep.
And where is,
Cafeteria to middle
Middle
Where
school.
you head if you're going for the bathrooms?
and that's also, that's going to be from 4 or, yeah. And
6.
That's one's at 6.
The regular school board meeting on the 19th starts at 6 in the cafeteria, where middle school.
But the 12th is only the 2-hour budget session, regardless of what time it starts. It's the 2-hour budget session, right?
Workshop.
It's a workshop.
Workshop, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how long I don't have control over how long.
I would
they'll-
bet it's 6 o'clock because they had it at 4 before, because they had it prior to their regular meeting. I don't think there's a regular meeting that night.
No, there isn't.
So
But
I-
somebody told you. Lori, somebody told you what was it for, you said? Okay, we'll figure that out.
I didn't ask for a name, I apologize.
Okay. Okay. The only other things I would say is, there is a lot of information available on the website for the schools. If you go in and you don't know where to look, it's,
I emailed the links to everybody last week.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just-
But sometimes to find it, like the the contract for the Ware school teachers, if you go to the home page and you come right down, it's gonna have this blue circle with an eye on it. And you click on that, and it'll have the Henniker teacher's contract, the Ware teacher's contract. So that is right there, and it's 31 pages of whatever whatever you wanna pull out.
But what's missing from that is the cost of the contract.
Correct. It
And-
has the salary, the salary
It
structure.
has the scale, but we don't know how much the first year cost is, the second year cost, the
Not yet.
third year cost.
No, that's, well,
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
saw that when you go to the budget folder for 24-25, there's a PDF in there with
Okay.
contract information, and it has the 2-year totals.
It does.
Okay. I didn't see it.
believe that's the, I
Okay.
believe that's the right
So
information.
it's not in the contract, it's in the school budget information.
There's a file for the contract with the costs in it. I don't know if it's the complete contract, but it might be the warrant article draft. But the costs are, I saw the cost in the PDF, so you might wanna check.
Some of us have problems with PDFs. Is it possible for you to be able to download that and ship it to us in something we can actually get into?
Are you asking for a Word document?
No, well, if you,
What do I need?
Any of the above, dear.
You can open those?
Yes.
okay.
That's the computer guy.
I'm sorry, what do you need?
In the budget folders, they have PDFs, Excel, and Excel files. And when you click on them, as long as you have Microsoft Excel on your computer, Office, it'll open. PDFs should open for everybody.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you shouldn't need anything special to open a PDF.
You just can't change the
Yeah, it's just read
PDF,
only.
you just can't change it.
You should be okay, unless you're on Windows 95, you know, that could be a problem.
It's only 311.
And-
Okay.
Go ahead. And if you want information on class sizes,
Yeah.
how many kids per, it is on the SAU website. You just, if you go in and you go to Ware School Board, and then go to meetings, not budget, if you go to budget information, you can click on that, and you will get their line-by-line item for their proposed budget for the Ware School District, okay? If you click on, when you go Ware School Board, and you click on meetings, handouts, and agenda thing, and then you go to November, click on the November meeting that they had, it will give you an array of about 10 or 12 different items you can click on, and it will have test scores that were just from this fall. It'll have enrollment information. There's a lot of information that's available if you just hunt and peck right on the SAU website, not the DOE website. You can get some other information, as you probably know, but there is good information that it may or may not be pertinent to our discussions, but it's just nice to know.
Would it be helpful to the committee, like each one of us, some do towns, we do Ware schools, some does Stark. Would it be helpful to the rest of you if we brought our handouts and we actually photocopied them so that you could all have a copy of what we're looking at? Or do you want to go look for things? Which is easier for you?
Well, usually when the school comes in and does their presentations, we get a whole book that has all that
Right,
stuff in
but
it.
it's nice to be able, at this point in time, to start seeing where they're going with it. In the past, we have done that.
I don't remember that, but I don't want to be flooded with paper. I'd wait for the school to present its stuff, and then, if we need more, ask for it. Or, members of the school committee on their own could ask for information, which presumably they would share with the rest of us. Just another bit of information, I think this may have been said before. The the superintendent's office presented a budget for the Ware schools that was increased expenditures by 3.4%. But they were very clear, this is a preliminary budget, they were going to go over it, and it wouldn't come up at that. However, in addition to that 3.4%, you have to add in the teacher's contract. Teacher's contract is going to have some additional cost to the town, so 3.4% plus X would be their total expenditure.
Is there a para contract?
No,
For Stark, there's a support staff contract at Stark and a Ware School teacher's contract.
But I was only talking about the Ware schools.
Right.
The budget does not include the cost of the contract, so we, as a finance committee, are gonna have to consider both.
Oh, you got anything else?
done.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knew, tomorrow at the John Stark High School, there's an adequate funding lecture that they've been advertising for a few weeks. It's put
That's
up-
tomorrow?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know the time.
I can forward an
Yeah.
email, because if you wanna go, you're supposed to register.
Yeah.
You can-
I don't know, you could probably show up, but it
6 o'clock
has
or
the
8
time.
o'clock?
I
Is it-
believe it's
6 or 8?
a public meeting in a public place.
Why do you have to register?
Probably just so that they know how many people are gonna be
You
there.
can walk in if,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I'm sure you can.
but it's, they're gonna be presenting information about that there are changes to
6
the
to 8.
adequate funding model and things like that, and that's what the lecture is about. So.
But this organization has a long-standing particular position on this issue.
Yes, it's
Right.
an
This
independent
is not-
organization, it's not a state government or a town.
Right,
Or
but it's
just-
like asking the Republican Party to come in and address you without asking the Democrats to come in and address you.
Correct.
Right, no, I'm not refuting that, I'm just,
Okay.
that it's tomorrow, if anybody's interested.
6 to 8 in the John Stark cafeteria.
I think, my opinion is that what they're gonna present is probably what's on the mind of the superintendent and the school board when they're putting together their budgets. They're probably following along with trends, and this might be an explanation of what the trends are, is my personal opinion of what you might expect to see in this. And I don't know that it's an interactive or not. I don't know if it's a one-way lecture, or,
Wasn't this also about school funding?
it's
and the
about,
court cases?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a result of cases and RSAs, laws that were passed,
Adequacy of state funding revisited.
right?
Sorry, I have strong opinions. When the state adds a state property tax to ours and calls it a state tax, where in fact it just increases our property tax, it doesn't make any sense to,
But Tom, if you were in the legislature and you were faced with this situation, that's exactly what you do. Raise the
probably not.
statewide property tax from $3 to $7, send back 7,500 or whatever the court said was minimally necessary, and leave it to the towns to produce a lower town property tax. Net effect on taxpayer, no change.
right, exactly. That's what I was saying.
That's what is is one of the obvious options.
We all set on that discussion. Let's go to the minutes. Just don't forget to drop the N off Dan unless you expect it to, unless you're
My
expressing.
apologies for the swear words in the minutes last
I was
week.
just thinking that in some cases it might have been appropriate,
Yeah,
just,
I think so.
Might-
after
must be
all,
the
who wants
fire
to
and
patrol
brimstone.
down there in Cluff State Park?
And speaking of dam patrols, if I could, that was some of the money they were gonna use to offset the police car, was revenue that the department earned by patrolling the dam, and details. I think it was the vehicle portion of details.
Yeah.
So they're taking that money and reapplying it to equipment.
And that's not new as far as using the detail money.
No.
There's a vehicle piece to that anyways,
Right.
and at one time, I know, a couple of police chiefs ago, we bought a whole vehicle out of it, which ended up being wrecked when we had that shootout in South Ware, but was
So-
purchased out of those funds.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when a detail happens, the officer gets paid, and then there's a vehicle charge
Yes.
Yeah, right.
for that, and that vehicle charge money is what is collected and would be used as part of the cost, right?
Exactly. I
Okay.
think it all goes
Behind
into
the
the same
vehicle
fund,
charge.
but then the police are paid out of that fund
Yeah,
off the top,
Uh,
and then,
yeah,
The idea behind the vehicle charge is to cover the wear and tear on the vehicle.
right, yep. It's a usage fee.
one other thing I noticed that, in the minutes, when you referred to John Stark and you said Tom, should add Tom Flaherty since there are two Toms here.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep.
TC and TF.
Any way you want to put it. Anybody else have changes they recommending to the minutes?
There's one other one that John had mentioned, the older fire truck, the 87 fire truck, it was 1,000 gallons
Not
a minute,
100.
not 100, so I'll fix it.
Might as well use a squirt gun.
Tom, are we going to vote to approve these minutes, or?
We're going to, yes. If, as amended.
Yes.
Okay, so I move if there are no other changes, that we approve the minutes of November 29th as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make one comment, and I have to say, Maria, you are doing one awesome job on
Thank you.
minutes, on a timely basis, accuracy, it's impressive.
Thank you.
You'll be doing his job forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only are they accurate, but they're readable.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very, very legible. I love the bullets. Makes it very easy to get the meat
You're
out
well
of it.
worth what you paid.
Yeah.
We're gonna double your salary.
Now, if I'm correct, we do not have a meeting next week. However, get yourself ready for the week after, because we've got back-to-back meetings on the 20th and the 21st. So Merry Christmas to everybody.
20th and the 21st?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I have a question.
yes, of course.
Going back to the police presentation, Neil mentioned that we had a spreadsheet from DPW that had a lot of information on it. Is that something that we could also get one for the other departments?
I think we will normally.
We will, well,
Yeah.
yeah, so do we have to request that?
No, I think that's what I asked Naomi about. I think the whole budget's gonna be in that format, like the sheet handed out by DPW tonight. When we get the town budget, it'll be broken down by the department, but it'll all be in the same
Will the
format.
detail for the department be there, like for DPW?
Well, yeah, like
Yes.
the,
Yes.
And not only that, and Naomi pointed out, that the selectmen, that what we're seeing tonight is what the department has asked of the selectmen.
Yeah.
It's not the final budget, because the selectmen have to approve it, and
Yeah.
they change it in
Yeah.
the course of approval. So what we will see in that booklet will be what the selectmen have approved, and so what Jason gave us tonight may be modified.
Naomi, will we be seeing the town coming in to present to us like this, the possible, and then what the hard, or are we just going to wait until the hard budget is done?
Our plan is to finalize the 18th and come to you the 20th.
And will we get a chance to talk to Beth about revenues and questions? I know in the past we've had her for a meeting.
Yeah, we had that revenue sheet was given out,
Yeah, we did the revenues and the
yeah.
default.
I think I have it somewhere in my pile
Bring
here.
extra copies, because you joined late, so we could just bring extra copies anyway.
But I know we've run into a couple questions that are Beth questions, and she's,
Good to hear.
okay. Thank you.
I was told not to tonight, because they're not done yet.
Right.
I don't wanna waste your night.
just a follow-up, if I could?
Sure.
And my question, looking at Jason's spreadsheet that he handed out, it has more than you would see on a budget handout. It has 21 expenses, 22, 23 so far. Then it has last year's approved, default, proposed. I mean, there's a lot more on here than you might see on a typical budget. I mean, this is nice to look at the actuals.
I think that is on the sheets for the other departments too. I think you'll find that
Where?
information will be there, I believe, when we get it from the whole, with those columns that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure we'll see that, if I recall from past years.
Well, it's just nice to see it now. When Jason's doing his initial presentation, it's just nice to get
Yeah,
a headspace. We got it from him. I mean, couldn't we request it for the other departments is all I'm suggesting.
You'll see it, you'll see it the same way that you
I agree.
But later.
It,
That's my point.
Well, when we come on the 20th, you'll see the whole thing that way.
Yeah, but I'm seeing Jason's tonight and Monday. So that's my point. I have a preview of,
Okay, and Monday, we're gonna do fire on the 18th, so you'll see the fire the same way.
The
Okay.
advantage to this is that the one column that shows how much they've expended this year to date,
Yeah, yeah.
so that you can get an idea of whether or not they're exceeding their current budget or whether they're under their current budget.
Right.
What the likely surplus is at the end of the year, and whether or not their request for 2024 is justified by their expenditures in 2023.
The only thing you have to be careful of, some things come in at the end of the year.
Sure,
That's a
sure.
problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nonetheless, it's really nice to have that detail on
Yeah.
paper to follow
Yes.
the discussion.
As early as possible is helpful, just to get a sense. I mean, if Jason was able to produce, if we were able to get this for DPW, I'm guessing Beth could produce this for any department on request,
Right,
right?
and what we typically have, let the selectmen see the presentation first, that's why we did it this way.
Sure,
She does work with everybody,
yeah, yeah.
and then that Monday, they'll see the same thing for the first time for fire on the 18th.
Yeah.
And the rest of the budgets.
Naomi, would it be possible for us to get the police department version of what Jason presented now, before it gets?
Jason didn't do the police department.
No, I know, but Jason gave us the public works, Chief Moore gave us the police department, but he gave us a slide presentation, and I'm wondering if we could get the information
Yeah.
from his
Yeah,
budget in the
I
same.
mean, we gave you the slide presentation, because those little lines, there's not enough room to write everything and break it down like he did. But you can get the same printout, because if you'll see on the DPW, there's a dark line under all the payroll, because that's all been froze, so nobody can touch that. Those numbers are froze, so when they get their sheet and fill them in for the budget, they can only touch below the dark line.
Right, but I
So-
think what you're asking, because traditionally, when I've
You're
done.
asking for the same thing as you want.
Yes, please, it's much easier for us to read, this is hard for us to follow, I think, correct?
Yeah, I think you're gonna
It
just
presents
take
different
that and
information.
match it up to your explanation,
The way
because
it's
the
normally
little
done.
lines on the side is not that much.
Yeah,
room.
it's two different views, and.
I think they just want an Excel spreadsheet version instead of a PowerPoint.
Thank you.
And could we see it, what the chief has requested, as opposed to only see what the selectmen approved? Because what we're seeing from Jason is what Jason requested, not what the selectmen decided.
Yeah, we can get.
Can we get that
I'm sure we
version
can
from
get
the-
same
for the
thing
police?
Right now, and then it may change though.
Yes,
That's
understood.
fine,
Yep.
but can we get that now, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Before and after for the police too. Okay.
Well, I can only give you the before right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Next Wednesday, next Thursday, no, the week after, I mean, the 20th and the 21st.
We like you, but maybe a week would be good.
Yeah. So take a deep breath and get some sleep, because that's gonna be a long week. Anything else tonight? Done the minutes,
Tom, when do you expect the schools to come in?
21st.
21st.
So the selectmen are only on the 20th?
Correct.
Not 2 days for the selectmen?
Yeah,
No.
right.
One long
Okay.
night. The only thing you could do, and I'll ask you while you're here, just ahead of you, Neil is part of, they opted to kick the can down the road for the 20th, so you could start at 6 if that works better.
I'm good with that.
Evans
Yeah.
opted to
Yeah.
not meet the rest of the year,
Yeah.
but that's
Sure.
entirely up to you.
So 6 on the 20th,
So the
correct?
room will be available then?
Right, because you guys are following them,
Okay.
so that, I'm just offering you that ahead of time.
So 6 o'clock on the 20th.
The 20th?
I'll have to change the calendar.
And what about the 21st?
Schools.
Can we do
21st,
6
I-
o'clock,
That's a Naomi
or it's
question.
set for 7?
The calendar's.
Well, that's the school, and
It all depends on what other meetings are,
21st, the calendar's empty, you can start at 6. Whatever you want, you can start at 2 in the afternoon, I don't care. Just
I
saying.
think 6 would be great to
Yeah.
start earlier.
I would like that too, yeah.
Me too.
I'd have to check with Jackie Cole.
Right, but
Could you let us know if it's on for 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta decide.
I have
now.
2 weeks to do it.
we'd
So I
like
should be able to
6.
get
Well,
it
I'm
about
just
then.
saying, it's empty, so.
I'm
just
checking,
remind you.
I'm checking my work schedule.
Well,
But
go
don't,
ahead and
don't change anything because of me, I
Tom?
can always come a
Yeah.
little late.
You're gonna check with Jackie, but she needs to know now, should we tell her
No, no,
this?
I mean, I don't care what time they meet.
Aim
You
for
can start as early
6.
as you want.
And if Jackie says 7, we'll
We'll just adjust.
look at her and go,
The school,
Scowl.
if I remember correctly, they've moved along pretty quickly in their presentations in the
They use
past.
Exact,
Because they give you the whole book all at once, and
That's efficient.
it goes pretty quickly. Because they're only the two departments, so to speak, John Stark and Ware Schools, whereas there are multiple departments for the town, so it just takes longer. Of course, we do have the contracts in each case, so we'll have to take a look at. So I'll be glad to check with her,
Please.
and see what we can do,
Six that night,
and let you know one way or the other. Right? So we good to go? Move to adjourn?
Yes.
Good to adjourn?
No, we need a, do we, oh, no, wait. Sorry.
We need a
Never mind.
second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody wants to stay?
Bye.
Thank you.